Good morning, Monday, June the 8th. Today we will be reading Henry VIII, Act 4, Scenes 7 and 8. We will finish the play this week. We'll see how far we get. I don't want to shut that, I just want to remove it from the screen. So, I would have everyone go to our Google Classroom. Remind everybody yet again about the one-on-one conferencing schedule and book in, and I can help you create a focus for your newspaper if you're struggling with that. I can do a editing run with you with your newspaper if you want me to. So there's lots of spots. People haven't been taking me up on the one-on-one lately, and we are down to the last 2 weeks. No more new material after this week, and all material owing at the end of next week. So from here, as always, we go into classwork, our offsite Shakespeare learning, and we scroll down to the, now note at the top I've put the newspaper assignment. I want you to create a newspaper visually as well as Word. So we're going to go down to Henry V, Act 4. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4 scrolls down. Click in there and open up your Henry IV, Act 5. I did this already earlier so that it would be fully downloaded by the time our lesson began, instead of wasting all that time waiting for it to download. So, with Scene 7, how does Shakespeare set the audience up for the news presented in line 1? And this is the end of Scene 4 that he does this. Though he does not get mentioned of by name which character died in this action. What does this action say about the French soldiers? And bearing in mind, the British hated the French. So Shakespeare wants to show them in their worst light. And he does that through their arrogance and their belief in a victory. He also shows that through the jest of bestiality between the Dauphin and his horse. And he shows it in this action. What dramatic purpose is served by Fluellen and Gower discussing Alexander the Great? What request does the French herald Montjoy make of King Henry? Who does King Henry credit for his victory over the French? And we're going to be seeing this a lot through the rest of the play. Go back over the act and find other times, 3 other times he suggests this. So this is a Act 7 question and a combined act question, so that we've seen this throughout the act, and we will see this stated again in Act 5. Now that the battle is won, the king indulges in a prank, outlining the details of his jest. This gives us a chance to see the king, that side of him when he was young, that is fun and mischievous. He lets a little bit of his old self out. Alrighty. So what happens, what action is, I'll just copy and paste the whole question instead of, and we'll have that as our focus to begin. Another part of the battlefield. Enter Llewellyn and Gower. Kill the boys and the luggage. 'Tis expressly against the law of arms. 'Tis an errant piece of knavery, mark you, as now as can be offered in your new conscience. Now, is it not? 'Tis certain there is not a boy left alive, and the cowardly rascals that ran from the battle have done the slaughter. Besides, they have burned and carried away all that was in the king's tent. Wherefore the king most worthily hath caused every soldier to cut his prisoner's throat. Oh, 'tis a gallant king. So there, just in these first 5 lines, we have the answers to our question, with the exception of what was said at the end of scene 4. So, since that's the first half, how does Shakespeare set the audience up for this news? We scroll back to the end of scene 4. So, what are we informed of at the end of scene 4? The boy from the tavern died from the French soldiers. Very good. Mr. Luan and Mr. and a nod. I bet you any money I'm not presenting. Why is it not letting me present the screen? There we go, present now. My apologies for not having presented the screen, but clearly you are capable of going back into the document and finding that information. But now that I'm presenting the screen, so now we've got the second question, though he does not get mentioned by name. Which character dies? The boy from the tavern died. And the French soldiers are the ones who did this. We know that, but that's also in the question. So what does this say about the French soldiers? So let's look at that. And we don't even need to, we can go straight into the scene and hear what they have to say about the French. What does this action have to say about the French soldiers? I will Very good. And how does the king respond? Let's get this out of bold. And put back in bold. Take that out of bold. Oh, I don't care. How does the king respond? This is one of those orders of King Henry's that shows what did they say? His lack of perfection as a human being, his negative side. Yes, very good, Mr. Antonov. All right. So our next question we will be looking at is, what dramatic purpose is served by Fluellen and Gower discussing Alexander the Great? So let's look at their discussion. Oh, 'tis a gallant king. Aye, he was born at Monmouth, Captain Gower. What call you the town's name where Alexander the Pig was born? Alexander the Great. Why, I pray you, is not big great? The big or the great, or the mighty, or the huge, or the magnanimous, are all one reckonings, save the phrase is a little variations. I think Alexander the Great was born in Macedon. His father was called Philip of Macedon, as I take it. I think it is in Macedon where Alexander is born. I tell you, Captain, if you look at the maps of the old world, I warrant you shall find in the comparison between Macedon and Mammon that the situation, look you, is both alike. There is a river in Macedon, and there is also, moreover, a river at Monmouth. It is called Wye at Monmouth, but it is out of my brains where is the name of the other river. But 'tis all one, 'tis alike as my fingers to my fingers, and there is salmons in both. If you mark Alexander's life well, Harry of Monmouth's life is come after it, indifferent well. For there is figures in all things. Alexander God knows, and you know, in his rage and his furies and his wraths and his chollers and his moods and his displeasures and his indignations, and also being a little intoxicates in his brains, did, in his ails and his angers, look you, kill his best friend, Claudius. Our king is not like him in that. He never killed any of his friends. It is not well done, mark you now, to take the tales out of my mouth ere it is made and finished. I speak but in the figures and comparisons of it. As Alexander killed his friend Claudius, being in his ales and his cups, so also Harry Monmouth, being in his right wits and his good judgment, turned away the fat knight with the great belly doublet. He was full of jests and jites and knaveries and mocks. I forgot his name. Sir John Falstaff. That is he. I'll tell you, there is a good man born at Monmouth. Here comes your majesty. So, here, from lines 15 to 30, Okay, very good. What comparison is being made? So what comparison is being made? It shows how similar the king and Alexander are. And he makes two very clear comparisons. So the first reason is in lines 15 to 23. That's the second reason. Oops, space between the name and the period. Oops. So here, talks about him killing his best friend. And here, although he didn't physically kill him, so also Harry Monmouth, beginning his wits and his good judgment, turned away the fat knight. So they both rid themselves or shed themselves of their closest companion. So, what is the first reason? I should have said the first reason was in lines 16 to 19. My brain is in such slow motion right now. That I actually had to look up, believe it or not, the word there. So we want to, what else is similar about them that is said in this scene? So go to line 16. Oh, sorry. So there's a similarity in geography, both born near rivers. So he uses this information to establish an initial connection. He then adds how both men shed their past by so what is left now, what this does is cause the audience to think about similarities between King Henry V and Alexander. All right. Okay, so the herald is going to make a request of the king. Here comes His Majesty. Alarm, enter King Henry, Warwick, Gloucester, Exeter, and others. I was not angry since I came to France until this instant. Like a trumpet herald, ride through unto the horsemen on yond hill. If they will fight us, bid them come down, or avoid the field. They do offend our sight. If they'll do neither, we'll come to them, and make them scur away as swift as stones enforced from the old Assyrian slings. Besides, we'll cut the throats of those we have, and not a man of them that we shall take shall taste our mercy. Go and tell them so. Enter Montjoy. Exeter. Here comes the herald of the French, my liege. His eyes are humbler than they used to be. How now? What means this herald? Knowest thou not that I have fined these bones of mine for ransom? Comest thou again for ransom? No, great king. I come to thee for charitable license, that we may wander o'er this bloody field to book our dead and then to bury them. to sort our nobles from our common men. For many of our princes, woe the while, lie downed and soaked in mercenary blood. So do our vulgar drench their pleasant limbs in the blood of princes, and the wounded steeds fret fetlock deep in gore, and with wild rage yerk out their armed heels at their dead masters, killing them twice. Oh, give us leave, great King, to view the field in safety, and dispose of their dead bodies. I tell thee truly, Harold, I know not if the day be ours or no, for yet many of your horsemen peer and gallop o'er the field. The day is yours. Okay. News from the Herald. And 50 to 64. Or rather, a request, not news. Good. And to separate the nobles from the common men. Lastly, there is one piece of news that Harold gives the king. What news? What is the news given to the king? Line 67. Very good, indeed. Our next question, if I recall correctly, is Praise be God and not our strength for it. What is this castle that stands hard by it? They call it Agincourt. Then call we this the field of Agincourt, fought on the day of Crispin Crispius. Your grandfather of famous memory, and to please your majesty, and your great uncle Edward, the Black Prince of Wales, as I have read in the chronicles, fought a most brave battle here in France. They did, Llewellyn. Actually, the question was answered in the very first line. Who does the king credit? Very good. This evidences his Christian focus or Christian faith. A warrior king and a man of God. He takes no credit. He gives it all to God. Alrighty, the last question I forget, so I'm just going to scroll back up to the questions. Okay, don't forget that you need to go back over the act and find the other times that he suggests this. So you need 3 other direct quotes from the full act. Okay, so now that the battle is won, the king indulges in a prank. Outline the details of his jest. So we'll read through the rest of the scene, and you're going to watch for the jest. A jest Your grandfather of famous memory, and please your majesty, and your great uncle Edward the Black, Prince of Wales, as I have read in the chronicles, fought a most brave battle here in France. They did, Llewellyn. Your majesty says very true. If your majesty's is remembered of it, the Welshmen did good service in the garden where leeks did grow, wearing leeks in their Monmouth caps, which your majesty know to this hour is an honourable badge of the service. And I do believe your majesty takes no scorn to wear the leek upon St. Davy's Day. I wear it for a memorable hour, for I am Welsh, you know, good countrymen. Aye, all the water and wine cannot wash your majesty's blood out of your body. I can tell you that. Cannot wash your majesty's Welsh blood out of your body. I can tell you that. God bless it and preserve it as long as it pleases his grace and his majesty too. Thanks, my good countrymen. By Jesu, I am your majesty's countryman. I care not who know it. I will confess it to all the world. I need not be ashamed of your majesty. Praise be God, so long as your majesty is an honest man. God keep me so. Our heralds go with him. Bring me just notice of the point of the numbers dead on both our parts. Points to William, calls yonder fellow hither. Exit heralds with Montjoy. Soldier, you must come to the king. Soldier, why wearest thou glove in thy cap? And please your majesty, 'tis the gage of one that I should fight withal if he be alive. An Englishman, and please your majesty, a rascal that swaggered with me last night, who, if alive, and ever dared to challenge this glove, I have sworn to take him a box of the ear. Or if I can see my glove in his cap, which he swore as he was a soldier he would wear if alive, I will strike it out soundly. What think you, Captain Llewellyn? Is it fit that this soldier keep his oath? He is a craven and a villain else, and please your majesty in my conscience. It may be his enemy is a gentleman of great sort, quite from the answer of his degree. Though he be as good a gentleman as the devil is, as Lucifer and Beelzebub himself, it is necessary, look your grace, that he keep his vow and his oath. If he be perjured, see you now, his reputation is as an arrant villain and a jack-sauce, as ever his black shoe trod upon God's ground in his earth, in my conscience, la. Then keep thy vow, Sirrah, when thou meetest this fellow. So I will, my liege, as I live. Who servest thou under? Under Captain Gower, my liege. Gower is a good captain, and is good knowledge, and is literatured in the wars. Call him hither to me, soldier. I will, my liege. He exits. Here, Llewellyn, wear thou this favour for me, and stick it in thy cap. He gives him William's glove, or gives William's glove to Llewellyn. When Elseron and myself were down together, I plucked this glove from his helm. If any man challenge this, he is a friend to Elsenon, and an enemy to our person. If thou encounter any such, apprehend him, and thou dost love me. Your grace does me great honours, as can be desired in the hearts of subjects. I would fain see the man that has but 2 legs that shall find himself aggrieved at this glove. That is all. But I would fain see it once, and please God of his grace that I might see it. Knowest thou Gower? He is my dear friend, and please you. Pray thee, go seek him, and bring him to my tent. I will fetch him. He exits. My lord of Warwick and my brother Gloucester follow Llewellyn closely at the heels. The glove which I have given him for favour may happily purchase him a box on the ear. If it is the soldier's, I by bargain shall wear it myself. Follow good cousin Warwick, if that soldier strike him, as I judge, by his blunt bearing, he will keep his word. Some sudden mischief may arise of it, for I do know Llewellyn valiant, and touched with the collar, hot as a gunpowder, and quickly will return an injury. Follow and see there be no harm between them. Go with me, uncle of Exeter. Exit. So we get a summary here of the jest, and we get the full exposition of it in the dialogue between Williams and the king and Llewellyn. So who can tell me what the jest is? Oh, hello, sweetheart. What pretty girl. I'm still waiting for a response. I'm going to quickly say hi to my puppy. Hi, sweetheart. Go see Daddy. Good girl. You go see Poppy. You go see Poppy, girl. Aw. Still no answer? Come on in, Lily. Come on in and say hi. Yeah. Come on in and say hi. Oh, my sweet girl. My sweet girl. My sweet So let me just scroll down. There we go. All I had to do was scroll down. Okay. Yes. Miss Vickers. Williams will think Llewellyn is the man he argued with the night prior to the battle, and as Llewellyn has a hot temper, they are sure to fight. Excellent. Alrighty, we're going to read through scene 5. I do not anticipate time to answer the questions as a collective. How many questions? 3. The king's jest plays out in this scene. And how does Williams reason with the king to avoid being hanged? The king wouldn't have hanged him in any case, I believe. But Williams still has to reason himself out of this mess. So who amongst the French were taken prisoner? How many French died? How many British? Scene 7. Before King Henry's pavilion, enter Gower and Williams. I warrant it is tonight, you captain. Enter Llewellyn. God's will and his pleasure, captain, I beseech you now, come apace to the king. There is more good towards you, peradventure, than is in your knowledge to dream of. Sir, know you this glove? Know the glove. I know the glove is a glove. I know this, and thus I challenge it, strikes him. Zounds blood, an errant traitor as any's in the universal world, or in France, or in England. How now, sir, you villain? Do you think I'll be forsworn? Stand away, Captain Gower. I will give treason his payment into blows, I warrant you. I am no traitor. That's a lie in thy throat. I charge you in his majesty's name. Apprehend him. He is a friend of the Duke Alcon's. Enter Warwick and Gloucester. How now, what's the matter? My lord of Warwick, here is, praised be God for it, a most contagious treason come to light. Look you, and you shall desire in a summer's day. Enter King Henry and Exeter. Here is his majesty. How now? What is the matter? My liege, here is a villain and a traitor that, look, your grace has struck the glove which your majesty is take out of the helmet of Alcon. My liege, this was my glove. Here is the fellow of it, and he that I gave it to in change promised to wear it in his cap. I promised to strike him if he did. I met this man with my glove in his cap, and I have been as good as my word. Your majesty, hear now, saving your majesty's manhood, what an errant, rascally, beggarly, lousy knave it is. I hope your majesty is bear me testimony and witness, and will avouchment that this is the glove of Alcon that your majesty is give me in your conscience now. Give me thy glove, soldier. Look, here's the fellow of it. 'Twas indeed the promised to strike. 'Twas I indeed thou promised to strike, and thou hast given me most bitter terms. And please your majesty, let his neck answer for it, if there is any martial law in the world. How canst thou make me satisfaction? All offences, my lord, come from the heart. Never came any from mine that might offend your majesty. It was ourself thou didst abuse. Your majesty came not like yourself. You appeared to me but as a common man. Witness the night, your garment, your lowliness, and what your highness suffered under that shape. I beseech you, take it for your own fault and not mine. For had you been as I took you, I made no offense. Therefore I beseech your highness pardon me. Here, Uncle Exeter, fill this glove with crowns and give it to this fellow. Keep it, fellow, and wear it for an honor in thy cap, till I do challenge it. Give him the crowns. And, captain, you must needs be friends with him. By this day and this light the fellow has metal enough in his belly. Hold, there is 12 pence for you, and I pray you to serve God and keep you out of brawls and brabbles and quarrels and dissensions, and I warrant you it is for the better for you. I will none of your money. It is with a good will. I can tell you it will serve you to mend your shoes. Come, wherefore should you be so bashful? Your shoes is not so good. 'Tis a good silling, I warrant you, or I will change it. Enter an English herald. So here, from the top of the scene through to line 53, and so now what is the outcome of the jest? What is the outcome of the jest? And we see that all at the top of this scene. Basically starting at line 4. Basically through till line 53. Okay, that is the final outcome. Prior to that, So, the final income, Miss Vickers, you are correct. But prior to that, Williams strikes Fluellen for wearing his glove. Fluellen fights back. Their altercation is stopped by Warwick and Gloucester. When the king enters, he admits that he had promised to wear the glove. Fluellen suggests the king hang Williams. How does Williams talk his way out of the noose? Lines 37 to 41. Oh, crap. I forget what King Henry's line was. I went and deleted everything. Let's see if I can get it back. There we go. How does William Swims as king look? Yes. But basically, oh, why am I on caps lock? Basically, you appeared to me as a common man. You deceived me, in essence. So I, in essence, Mr. Williams, made a bargain with someone he thought was another common man. And we've already got the outcome ultimately, in that he is given a glove filled with gold coins. Now enter English Herald. This is where we get the number of the French dead. So we want to know how many French died and how many British died. Enter an English Herald. Now, Herald, are the dead numbered? Here is the number of the slaughtered French. What prisoners of good sort are taken, uncle? Charles, Duke of Orleans, nephew to the king, John, Duke of Bourbon, and Lord Boquecourt. Of other lords and barons, knights and squires, full 1,500, beside common men. The note doth tell me that 10,000 French. This note doth tell me of 10,000 French that in the field lay slain. Of princes in this number and nobles bearing banner, there lie dead 126, Added to these of knights, esquires, and gallant gentlemen, 8,400, of which 500 were but yesterday dubbed knights, so that in these 10,000 they have lost but 1,600 mercenaries. The rest are princes, barons, lords, knights, squires, and gentlemen of blood and quality. The names of those their nobles that lie dead: Charles de la Breth, High Constable of France; Jacques of Chatillon, Admiral of France; the Master of Crossbows, Lord Rambieuse, Great Master of France; the brave Sir Guichard Dauphin; John, Duke of Alcon; Anthony, Duke of Brabant, the brother of the Duke of Burgundy; and Edward, Duke of Bar; of lusty earls, Grandpré and Roussy, Falconbridge and Foix, Beaumont and Marle, Valmont and Lestrade. He was a royal fellowship of death. Here was a royal fellowship of death. Where is the number of our English dead? Harold shows him another paper. Edward, the Duke of York, the Earl of Suffolk, Sir Richard Ketley, David Gam, Esquire, but none else of name, and of all other men, but 25. O God, thy arm was here, and not to us, but to thine arm alone, ascribe we all. When, without stratagem, but in plain shock and even play of battle, was ever known so great and little loss, on one part and on the other? Take it, God, for it is none but thine. 'Tis wonderful. Come, go we in procession to the village. Here again, in this act, is another recognition of God's role. So we're just going to finish the scene because it's almost over. Or is it? Yeah. And then we'll go back to the questions. Come, go we in procession to the village, and be it death proclaimed through our host to boast of this, or take that praise from God, which is his only. So no one is allowed to take credit for the battle, for the victory, but God. It is not lawful and please your majesty to tell how many is killed. Yes, captain, but with this acknowledgement that God fought for us. Yes, my conscience, he did us great good. Do we all holy rites, let there be sung non nobis and te deum, the dead with charity enclosed the clay, and then to Calais, and to England then, where ne'er from France arrived more happy men. So, line 51. Good, Mr. Antonov. I think it's 125, 25, 26, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. Five and 20 is 25. Now, you may be right and I may be wrong, so find the lines, Mr. Antonov. Mine in line 74, Ketley, Gam. Okay, and what line? What line is that? Line 54. Oh, wait a minute. No, this is, these are French nobles. No worries. All of this is about the French. All of these are the nobles, knights, esquires. They lost. The majority of the French dead. Were of noble blood. So we've got a very heavy cost. And very small loss on the side of the British. Thus, the reason the king credits God. All right. We are done Act 4. We will begin Act 5 tomorrow. It's a very short little act, and perhaps we can get through the whole act tomorrow. I'm not sure. We will see. Are there any questions remaining from any of you? Oh, don't sign out yet. Not my... There we go. All right. Any questions? I see no questions, so we will see you guys tomorrow. You guys have a good day. I should think the answers to the questions for Act 4 are very straightforward now. Refer back to the chat notes. I'm going to be copying and pasting them onto Google Classroom now, along with our lesson. And so, that ends our lesson for today.